Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Vikings training camp fast approaching. We play Who Does It First training camp edition.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan with Pro Football Network. I have the most immaculate grid.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. Let me tell you, what happens on Indiana nights stays on Indiana nights.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. 10 days until the kicking battle of the century starts live at TCO.
Plus an appearance from Ron Johnson today on the Minnesota Football Party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Thursday edition of the Minnesota Football Party is locked and loaded. Welcome in. You're on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Sam Ekstrom. You've met Luke Inman and Luke Braun. Arif Hassan of Pro Football Network joins us as well, as he does every Monday and Thursday. We're free on YouTube, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Subscribe, please. Comment below. Help other people find the show. We're also free and available wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Roku, Amazon Fire, and the SXM, the Sirius XM app, where you can find all the Locked On Sports Minnesota content. Plenty to get to on today's show, July 20th. The abyss is almost over. We're going to dive into some camp preview with a little Who Does It First training camp predictions. A key Viking has been waived. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. And Ron Johnson joins us for his usual Thursday appearance. Plus, what were the dumbest storylines of the offseason? Yes, we play that game as well. Coming up on today's Minnesota Football Party, which is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Go to FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started today. Live bet the Open Championship. Tommy Fleetwood in his home nation coming on strong. Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hassan. Let's play a little game show to kick things off. Training camp gets underway on Saturday. First padded practice a week from Monday. Let's play a little Who Does It First. Training camp is marked by firsts. First big catches, first big interceptions, first big fights. Let's go around the circle and name Who Does It First. The first highlight reel catch is always a focal point of training camp. It wows the crowd, the oohs, the ahs, the flashes going off on the cameras, or not, because cameras don't flash anymore, and the players get jacked up. Who's going to make the first highlight reel catch that the Vikings can post in slow motion on their social media? Luke Inman.
You're going to see KOC pull out all the stops on day one. He's going to send Zach Ojile on a wheel route. He's going to catch Troy Dye flat-footed, blow right by him up the right sideline. He's going to go up and over him and make the first splash catch at TCO. Give me the odds with the backup fullback over at FanDuel.com.
I mean, you're just going to get the field odds on that one. You're not.
Yeah, he's not listed. Okay. No respect. No respect.
Great pass catching back at Duluth, I hear.
Man, that's rough.
That's right.
Possible answer is Jalen Reagor. I think we can all agree that would be amazing for the.
I think that's the funniest possible answer
for sure.
Yeah, but my answer is Josh Oliver. I'm not going to elaborate. That's just my answer. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
It's brilliant podcasting.
Luke Braun.
I don't need to go on the first team. Everybody's going to play, right? It's camp. I'm going to go with someone who is maybe a little bit more likely to get some inaccurate throws. Maybe needs to get out and use the arms a little bit. Go down to the third team. How about Lucky Jackson, we'll go with looser than everybody else on the team because he just finished a season in the spring. played for the DC Defenders.
Yeah, I feel like that's a mark against him.
We'll go
More
with looser.
fatigued.
We'll go with
More
looser.
banged up.
He doesn't have the fresh legs. Okay. Is he
Logic.
listed up on FanDuel.com? Or is he in the field?
Yeah, well, 100%. You should check that out, Luke.
For sure. I'm all over it.
I think they posted those today. Those lines are available. Similar logic to Luke Braun. Like, he thinks the quarterbacks might be inaccurate. Well, what about a pass catcher who is not used to being a pass catcher, who used to be a quarterback? Cephas Johnson is going to get turned around. He's going to do a pirouette and then have to make an over the head Jim Edmonds, Willie Mays kind of catch over his shoulder to catch the deep ball from Jaron
Is Jim
Hall.
Edmonds a base? Because Willie Mays is a baseball player. Is Jim Edmonds also a baseball player?
Jim Edmonds
Former
made
Angel all-time great.
one of the great catches
Cardinals,
of all time.
Angels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
He was a stud.
I love that audio listeners could hear that you were demonstrating that you were turning away
He was
from
like
the mic.
spinning
to really do that
around, getting
pirouette.
away from the mic, getting
That was
back
good.
to the mic.
So
that's a
he
podcast
pulls
trick.
a Jim Edmonds over-the-shoulder
That
catch.
move.
How long until we get some Joe Webb comps? That's just
It's
How many
already happening.
over-the-shoulder catches did Joe Webb make?
Dude, so many. Dude.
It's
Were you
already
not there?
happening.
Were you not there those days? So many.
Where has Cephas Johnson been? Has he been doing drills with the receivers? Has he done anything
Yeah.
quarterback wise?
No. He's all receiver. Yeah.
Okay.
He's huge. He's gigantic. You know who else is huge? Is Garrett Mogg. Garrett Mogg is giant compared to. It's a pretty small receiving core. Garrett Mogg is huge. Sleeper.
What are we talking?
I thought you were
6'4"
introducing
6'5"?
that to say that was your pick for highlight catch, and I was like, Sam, too much. We're doing too much. I love the Fighting Hawks as much as anyone else, but too much.
Well, hey, Mr. Mankato discussion is next week, so we'll get to Garrett Mogg. All right, those are our highlight reel nominees. Who is going to get in a fight? There's one every camp. Now, a fight would be defined as a physical confrontation where, at minimum, multiple shoves are exchanged and practice has to pause momentarily. That's my definition of a fight.
I'm going with Christian Darrisaw and Marcus Davenport. I just feel like even though they're not going to have pads on, the linemen are just going to get into it. They annoy each other a lot. Very often the first fights involve linemen, although, when Laquan Treadwell was on the roster, that was, kind of where that would happen. But yeah, it just feels like I don't know that there's anyone. I'm sure I'll be corrected in like 10 seconds, but I don't know that there's anyone on the roster that feels outside of the linemen that feels particularly feisty, that feels like they'll get in a fight in the way that Treadwell would. Maybe you could say Andrew Booth. I get it. But I just feel like the constant contact that you get among the linemen makes that just a favorite. And to me, Darrisaw is the fightingest of the starting linemen. I think he's most likely to get into a fight. And so I just tried to figure out kind of who that might pair up with. And I think Davenport is the answer there.
Reese, right. Like up on FanDuel.com, the heavy favorite has to be in the trenches, right? Like it's got to be some trench guys, but just in honor of the Treadwell, Antoine Exum, and it's usually young guys too, young,
Exum, for sure.
chippy.
Yeah.
I'll go with another receiver cornerback duo again. I'll say Mekhi Blackman and Jalen Rager. Blackman's going to clamp
Rager's
down.
nice.
My exact combo.
That was
way.
going to be my exact
wow.
one too.
No
Written
way.
down.
All three of us? I love it. Yeah,
Oh.
Blackman's he's gonna clamp
Feisty was
Rager
on like
down.
every scouting report he had.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
physical.
Yeah, Rager's
Jalen
gonna get
Rager's
frustrated. Finally
Yeah.
gonna turn around. Throw a
Easily shut
haymaker.
down.
Well, I'm glad I'm the one here who has original thoughts. That feels good.
Well, the
You're all-
line
I said
just
it first,
tanked.
so.
All three of us put money
Ice
on
cream
that.
so good.
Yeah,
combo.
now we tanked the line.
Yeah.
Right.
I was also thinking Andrew Booth. I feel like Andrew Booth, like the guy famous for punching someone in the face in college, feels like he's got to be up there. And I'll say somebody that I think he'll maybe go up against a lot with the twos.
With the
Jalen
twos.
Naylor.
Oh, man.
What about Blackman versus Addison? Little teammate on teammate. Do you think they get along?
Man,
That
I
could
think
happen,
they get
yeah.
along, but also if they get in a fight, are we going to notice? That's like 100 combined pounds.
To be able to see them like pass.
Something's happening over the offensive lineman. I can't see it. What's going on?
Who is that?
Prop me up. I can't see what's going on.
So at some point, someone will start floating away in the wind, and that's how we'll know.
Right.
Can't see him over collar.
It's the bag from American Beauty just starts floating away. It's art, man. It's art. You're cut, but that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
This doesn't have to be a serious injury, but an injury or a player that gets forced from practice due to an injury that occurs during practice.
Well, that was Booth.
Yeah, Booth. It's got to be Booth. Jalen Naylor's going to put a double move on Booth within 48 hours of camp starting. He's going to put him in a blender. Booth's going to be hobbling around with some sort of foot or ankle injury the next 6 weeks.
The problem here is not just that Booth is actually injury prone. He's also a cornerback. And cornerbacks will do anything to give you an excuse as to why they got burned. And Booth, I think more than most cornerbacks, is willing to do like the Xavier Rhodes, right?
Right.
Like he'll get burned and he'll just limp off to the sideline.
Like you think the stretcher's about to come out.
What happened? Injured again. And Andrew Booth is like, yeah, they're going to totally buy this.
You're right.
So that's the problem. In the non-Andrew Booth category,
it's like, wow, I love watching Xavier Rhodes film. Not for the reason you would think, but I get a lot out of it.
Wow, I get a lot out of it. Incredible technique.
Yeah.
A chance for value here, Reef. We all took Booth.
Yeah, I just I'm gonna go Davenport again. He's been injury riddled throughout his career. He's going through a significant weight change as he enters camp. I just feel like both of those combined increase the likelihood of just like minor injuries popping up here or there. And maybe I'll get, I don't know if I would call it parlay action, but I'd get like some sort of double dip if it occurs during the fight with Darisaw.
Oh,
that happened to Treadwell. Treadwell hurt himself during a fight.
That's right.
Was it the thrown punch and he hit the helmet, or
he hit it? He punched a guy in the helmet and busted his finger or hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Who did he punch? Because that one wasn't Exum.
Oh, it wasn't?
Maybe it was.
A little on
That's the one I remember. I'm sure there was multiple. That one.
He got in multiple camp fights.
While Sam's looking that up, maybe Davenport, you mentioned the weight change. What did he play at last year, if you know? And then what is he reportedly up to?
Last year he was listed at 280, but he actually started the season playing at 300.
Oh, wow. Really?
His ideal playing weight, according to people I talked to with the Saints, 260. So not wonderful, but he was an edge defender, basically playing defensive tackle. My understanding is that the Vikings brought him in with a weight target in mind for him. I don't know what that is.
Got it.
But it would require that he loses a substantial amount of weight.
Got it.
Which is interesting because I see him playing a little more inside than he's accustomed to be more of a 3-down guy.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do that.
Are you saying stand up, or are you saying at 5 tech, or what are you saying inside? Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that at 260, and it's probably better for him to do it there.
Mm-hmm. No, not wrong about that. The conclusion of my research, it was indeed Anton Exum, because the headline is Treadwell claims he didn't suffer his injury during a training camp fight with Anton Exum when literally he was healthy, got in the fight, was removed from practice, and then did not show up for like a week. So,
I mean, it is entirely possible that he got injured walking away from the fight.
The media scrum, because he actually
who among us
he spoke to the media. It was this would never happen today. Like the TCO, I don't know, the PR has kind of like figured out how to minimize this type of thing happening now, but it was Wild West. I mean, Luke Inman, you've been out there. Reef, you were out there at Mankato. You just swarmed guys. So after the training camp fight,
I hated it.
Treadwell was just in the meat grinder. He's 100 degrees. He's sweating. He just got in a fight, and he gets swarmed by 30 guys with microphones.
I'll never forget. It's like day 12. We're walking off, probably 2015, maybe 2016. 100-degree heat every day. We're walking off. And all of a sudden, Chad Greenway goes, "Hey, Arif, can I talk to you real quick?" And we're all like, "Oh, what?"
Oh no.
And like, we can't linger and be weird, so we keep walking, but like kind of like, okay, what where's this going? And I just hear the first line. So what can you tell me about this PFF stuff? I was like, wow. That's where we're at, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was not my biggest fan. I will say that.
Arif, can you fill in the blanks here? So was it a contentious conversation?
Before camp broke, like right before camp broke, I wrote an article and the title was Chad Greenway is bad at football. That was the title of the article, right?
Zone coverage? Zonecoverage.com?
And the impetus for the article was that I had released like a week prior a depth chart that was color coded to like things that I considered to be like areas of concern, or this player could potentially break out or whatever. So it's color coded, kind of like how like a couple years ago PFF did those starting lineups that were like color coded by elite whatever. They stole that from me when I did that for the Vikings on a blog that no one read years ago. And I marked Chad Greenway as red because for the last 2 years, he had been playing very poorly, which was evidenced by his PFF grades over the prior 2 years. And people gave me a ton of pushback on it. I argued, as I always do, with them on Twitter. And I was like, it's just easier if I put my thoughts together in an article. By the way, this is like, for people who ask me why I argue all the time, this is 30% of the reason, because it creates reasons for me to write articles. It provides me with content fodder. So if you find yourself in an argument with me on Twitter, just know that you're being used. But another like 20% of the reason is that it drives traffic to articles I've already written. It's fantastic. But so I had already like written this article, and I had mentioned his PFF grades. I also included some moments from film where he had gotten burned or whatever, right? But he was really interested in the PFF aspect of it because he was surprised that he'd been graded poorly. And so for the first couple of days of camp, because Luke, you said this was like day 12 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Week and a half in.
The first couple of days of camp, I would just walk around and he would just like call me out while he's practicing.
Which is crazy.
He's like, hey, Arif, am I playing good now? I was just like, oh my God, this is
whoa.
brutal.
Yeah, dude. And we're all like
crazy.
All right, man.
Is there enough security around here? But and he's the wily veteran too. Like everybody's just
right. Yeah, I mean, he's the captain, right? So I did want to get an interview with him so I could get his thoughts on the piece because he clearly read it. And I got a one-on-one with him, and it turned into a scrum, and so I couldn't ask the questions I wanted to ask. There were cameras there. It sucked. And so a couple days later, he comes back and he's like, "Hey, Arif, let's talk." And I was like, "Oh, finally, I'm going to get like what I need for this article." And no. He just wanted to ask about PFF. And we talked for like a while about it. He was like, who's grading PFF? Does someone check? And I was like, hey, they just hired, Gunther Cunningham, former Detroit Lions defensive coordinator, something like that. I think I got that name right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, they've got like NFL people looking over their stuff. Okay, interesting. And so we had that conversation. But yeah, he like wanted to talk about PFF. It was very weird. But I thought he was just like, all right, now it's going down. And I'm like, I'm going to get roasted.
Player ready, fight. Here we go. Yeah, and you got to remember too that time frame. I mean, PFF is just second nature, but back then it was still kind of on the rise, and people were very skeptical, especially players and coaches. I mean, you'd hear it in some press conferences here or there, like Zimmer throwing PFF under the bus all the time, but especially back then, I'll just never forget that moment. I was just like, okay, so he just wants to pick Arif's brain about this PFF stuff and just get a better understanding of it. Okay.
Very awesome. That's a great story. Next on our Who Does It First game, first person to pick off Kirk on the defense. Who's it going to be?
So I am going to say that it's not Harrison Smith. I think he's just not going to play enough. Yeah. Not because he's injured, but just because, he's 40. They're just going to give him rest all the time. And it just doesn't happen for safeties in camp, honestly. It really is just more of a cornerback thing. And I think, again, I want to identify the funniest answer. It's also the answer I'm going to go with, which is Andrew Booth. I think that's just funnier if he continues the highlight, low light kind of trajectory that he's been on, right? And so it could be that he gets an interception, gets burned, fakes an injury, and then starts a fight. All well within the realm of possibility.
That could all happen on the first day.
Yeah. Those are all first day possibilities.
Cross off your bingo card after day
technically
one.
That would count as a highlight reel catch too. So that's something we have to think
It could, yeah.
I wish more than anything we had training camp stats somewhere tallied up over the years, because I always feel like for being a non-secondary guy, Eric Kendricks being one of the guys who like constantly picked off passes, thinking like, this is kind of weird. Like for a linebacker, not a safety or a corner, keeps coming up with all these interceptions. So, Kendricks is gone. I'm going to go with the dark horse. I'm going to say Troy Reeder. Give me the odds. Give me the long shot with the odds. Troy Reeder plus 2,500. Is that what you got over there, Sam?
I mean, actually, I kind of see the logic, right? Because it's like Nick Mullins.
Well, like Hicks probably won't play every single down, and then
it's who picks off Kirk, and the ones go against the twos sometimes. Like that will happen.
I mean, I'm not going to say that would be embarrassing for Kirk because picks happen, but it certainly would be disheartening.
Kirk already threw one to Hicks in minicamp too, so it was just like a botched check down.
Mm-hmm.
Overlooked the linebacker. Yeah, I like that.
That's interesting. Kirk has never had a botched check down in his life. That's crazy.
Oh, not the Bills game at all. No.
No.
Not the Giants game at all. No.
No, specifically that New York Giants game. No.
I'm going to go John Reed. Oh, I can't go John Reed. Oh,
Sam.
Tears.
Rip.
Too soon, dude.
Yeah, too soon.
I have similar logic to Inman, but I'm going to take somebody on the ones. I'll take Asamoah.
I liked it. I thought long and hard about that one. Yeah, I like it.
How about Jawan Williams with that catch radius? I mean, Kirk's going to try to drop it in the bucket to JJ. Nope. Jawan Williams with those long arms, big frame. Kirk never saw it coming. He's used to these short cornerbacks out there.
Is he on the twos?
Jawan, I think Jawan's going to work in with the ones enough. Early on, yeah.
I thought that was over. I thought that was like a thing we're starting, and then Caleb Evans took the job in like 2 seconds.
There was never a steady group at corner from what I saw. It was there were some that played more, like Caleb, but it was never just, all right, these are your three for the whole practice. It was constantly rotating. So I think Juwan's part of that.
All right. So next
Mic drop.
Well, and that's the nickel too. I'm sure we'll see a ton of dime defense in there too, which it's like, okay,
that's
these guys are out here
It could
anyways.
just turn out to be like Josh Metellus playing dime backer.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I thought about that.
Cam Bynum played a little corner in college. Throw him in there. Let's see it on the field. Come on.
The topic that Luke Inman teased in the open, the first calendar date that we see a headline about an escalating kicking competition, and the headline doesn't count if it comes from Arif Hassan or Luke Braun or me or Luke Inman.
You could
have just said one of us.
No conspiring.
On what, the 29th? Is that right?
Yeah.
The 30th.
One day.
I don't think there's going to be any headlines because I think from day one, Captain Jack is just going to take over and just right the ship. And it's just
there is no
Greg Joseph after day 3 is just going to concede, shake his hand, take a couple pictures, farewell, do a speech, and he's out of there.
At Georgia, they called him Hot Pod.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What was the previous guy?
Blankenship.
Hi,
Rodrigo Blankenship.
What was his nickname?
Yeah.
Hot
He
Rod.
was Hot Rod. So when he took over, they called him Hot Pod.
That's good.
Yeah.
Who was the kicker that somebody used a second round pick on? Florida State, I want to say.
Aguayo.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And he panned out.
On in 2 years.
He panned out.
Yeah,
he did great. He's still
the
there.
best kicker in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He hosts the Ron Johnson Show. He joins the Minnesota Football Party every Thursday. His name's Ron Johnson at 3 Ron Johnson on Twitter. I think he's still getting set up. Guests on the Ron Johnson Show this week included Spice Adams, the social media famous but also former NFL defensive lineman, and Ryan Mundy, former Steelers defensive back, had some great stuff on playing for Mike Tomlin as a member of the Steelers. Ron Johnson joins us now on the program. A reminder that we're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. FanDuel.com/locked-on. Baseball is in full swing. You can bet the Twins. You can bet every baseball line at FanDuel Sportsbook. Go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. Here's the promotion going on right now. New customers get 10 times their initial bet back in bonus bets up to $200. Bet 20, get 200. Whether you win or lose, that's free cash in your pocket. You can lay that down on the Open Championship. Let's take a look at the live line because I am obsessed with the Open. Tommy Fleetwood plus 550. He's your current favorite. Wyndham Clark, the sleeper, I think, plus 1,600 after his U.S. Open win. Bet all the lines. Bet the golf, bet the baseball, bet the tennis, bet everything at FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Ron, welcome into the show. Hope you're doing well on this fine day. I saw a video posted by the Minnesota Vikings of your golf swing. And congratulations. Second closest to the pin in the Legends tournament. Well done.
Ripping it up out there, man.
Woo.
That was impressive.
Appreciate it. Yeah, my swing, I was unimpressed by my swing when I saw it on camera. I've never actually seen it on camera. And I swing way too fast. So I got to work on my slow back and then nice little gradual coming forward. I swing way too fast. But yeah, I don't know how, but I got it close. Every time once in a while it works.
Tempo Town, they call it. You got to find that
I got to
tempo.
find the tempo.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that was fun to watch. Check that out on Vikings social media. So we're counting down to camp here, Ron. We're like 9 days away from the first practice. We're playing a little game, and we were projecting who's going to get in the first training camp scuffle. Who do you have? Who's your money on FanDuel? First training camp scuffle.
First training camp scuffle. Usually I would say DB receivers, but I don't feel like this receivers core has that guy. Like I don't feel like there's a Stephon Diggs, Xavier Rhodes battle or rivalry. I will say with Byron Murphy Jr. being new, there's a chance he doesn't have any rapport with these receivers. So it could go there. But honestly, I feel like it's going to come down to like D-line, O-line. I'm guessing Marcus Davenport maybe in one of these tackles. Not sure though. Christian Darrisaw seems real nice. So I don't know. Like Marcus Davenport though with the Saints, like he still has that Saints stigma juice and aura on him. So maybe it's a Marcus Davenport versus one of the O linemen.
Ron, you're a former player. You got 10 days left before training camp starts. What are you thinking? Like, what's the mindset? Is it, I only got 10 days left. I got to sneak one more quick vacation in and get out of town before it's too late. You got the butterflies going. Are you nervous or just excited and kind of jacked up just to get out there and put the pads on again?
No, well, I was blessed with the opportunity to be in 5 training camps. And so looking at plus, Arena League in Canada is a little bit different than NFL, but looking at NFL training camps, my rookie year, it was excitement. Like I was really excited, really ready to get back. Nervous though, because I had no idea what to expect. It was leaving college. My second year was a little bit more relaxed. I knew what to expect. I was coming in as a veteran. I knew where I kind of stood in the depth chart. And then my third year coming off injury, it was a little bit tougher because I didn't know how long it would take to get back to full strength and full health. So nerves, but honestly, like every year it was excitement, to be honest. I mean, you're getting an opportunity to step onto a field with a bunch of professionals that nobody else gets to do. Less than 1% of the world gets to do what they are doing this coming week. And so I was blessed with the opportunity to, again, play with Ray Lewis. You got Ed Reed out there, Chris McAllister. So it was just fun, too, to get in the locker room, be around the guys, hear the jokes. Because when you're away from it, you enjoy like that first month. I'd say like March, April, you're like, oh, man, it's good to be away from football. And then May, June, you start to get bored again. You're like, man, like let's get back in there. Let's get back to it. So I think now this is when you start to itch for that want to be around your teammates. Because if it is truly a great locker room, which I think the Vikings have, I think they've always had it, but I think Kevin O'Connell brings it out of them. And then after watching the Netflix special as well, Dr. Brownell, I think he's helping the players to understand the mental health side of sports and then enjoying the moments. Because I heard him tell Kirk Cousins that enjoy these moments. Don't worry about tomorrow because it's going to come. Enjoy the moment. So I think that part of it too, where the players are a little bit more relaxed, they're having fun, and they're ready to get back out there.
I'm wondering who you got at the bottom of the roster, the threes At wide receiver, who's your dark horse to maybe watch for a surge toward the roster? We got like 4 undrafted rookies there, XFL guy, all kinds of interesting stuff.
Well, you know what, Luke, that's a great question because I'm hosting a radio show this Saturday. So I've already started to look at my 53. So when you think about the 53-man roster, it's going to be a tough year for receivers, not going to lie. Like Kevin O'Connell, we know wants to run the ball a little bit. He's added some tight ends. CJ Ham got re-signed, so maybe we're going to see a resurgence in usage of CJ Ham. But my dark horse, I don't know if I would put him at the bottom, but I guess he still is right now, is Tristan Jackson. Like I think Tristan Jackson is a possible dark horse to be down there and then move up. I also like Malik Knowles, when you look at his size, I think that's another interesting piece to this. And then Cephas Johnson as well with his size. But again, it's figuring out, and then I can go down to other guys within this organization. Like, what do you do differently than anybody else? And Thayer Thomas, what does he do differently? Possibly returner. Jalen Reagor. A lot of people have written Jalen Reagor off, but I think, this is going to be his year to figure out. Like, if he doesn't catch on with the Vikings, I think it's going to be tough for him. He's going to become a journeyman from there. I think he can find a spot as far as speed, taking the top off. But I don't like some of the things I saw from the Netflix special with him, like moving when he wasn't supposed to, interception that moving a route led to an interception that changed the scope of that Colts game. So I think Jalen Reagor really needs to be in the playbook, but my dark horse is going to be down there with Jalen Nailor, even though I think people already kind of put them in there, but I think Jalen Nailor and Tristan Jackson are going to be the two kind of like fighting for that 4 and 5 spot. I think I truly believe Jalen Nailor has passed Jalen Reagor. Tough to say it. So those are my bottom. At the very bottom, I mean, I guess you want to call it practice squad. Again, I do like Thayer Thomas, but only because of the return opportunity there. And that's the only thing I think he can help out. Like if you look at a Cooper Kupp type, we interviewed him on my show, and he said when he talked to Kevin O'Connell, he had other opportunities, but he liked what the Vikings were telling him as far as where they possibly could see him being used within their offense.
Ron, I want to get back to the topic of training camp fights because I think that's one area where like there is a big disconnect between the way people inside of football view them and the way that like we write about them in the media or fans talk about them like on Twitter or whatever, where they just view generally speaking, not always, but they generally view any kind of training camp fight as a sign that, this is unprofessional, they're immature, they can't control themselves. And inside of football, it feels like sometimes, you don't want to fight too much or too intensely, but sometimes it feels like it can be a good thing, right? To get some tension out of there, be able to kind of refocus yourself. What is kind of like the feeling inside of because nowadays when you ask players, they always give you kind of a safe answer, like, oh, you don't want to fight. You always want to work together. But it feels like, especially if you ask players like 10, 15 years ago, it feels like, it's not necessarily a bad thing that a fight occurred so long as no one got hurt or it didn't get too intense. What's right. Kind of the feeling there?
This is where I go with this. I think the fact that they're going to have joint practices, I think alleviates a lot of that internal tension because they get to go beat somebody else up. So again, if I'm going to pick somebody to fight when the other teams show up, I'm going Marcus Davenport. Like when those other teams show up, sorry, Marcus, not picking on you, but I like the intensity, and I think a defense needs that. If I'm going to pick somebody to get off the bus and go fight the other team, I'm picking Marcus Davenport. So I think when the other team shows up, he's gonna be the guy that maybe gets into it in one-on-ones, pass rush situations where the tensions are high. From a receiver standpoint, I can see KJ Osborne. Maybe I can see like Justin Jefferson's not a fighter, but he does piss people off by how he plays. But he's so respected. I don't think other DBs are willing to fight him. Like if you watch the old DeAndre Hopkins versus I think it was Hall, Dante Hall Hall.
Hard Knocks
guy's name. Yeah, it was DeAndre Hopkins versus
was something Hall. D'Angelo Hall. Yeah, and he's like, man, don't like because he smacked the guy in the head trying to run a curl. He dropped the ball, and the guy's like, I won that, and D'Angelo Hall had no reason to come to DeAndre Hopkins, but he comes over and he's like, hey, put your hands on me like that, he's like, man, get your hands off me. I'm a grown man. Like he's like, man, I box.
I box. I don't fear nobody but God. He's like, man, I will box.
I fear God,
like,
homie. I fear
I'm a
God,
grown
homie.
man. And then the next period, they go 7-on-7. He makes D'Angelo Hall rip his knee up, like
Puts him in
on a double
blender.
move, like comeback. I don't know what that was. It was like a stutter comeback, killed him. And so, like that's where I think Justin Jefferson is. He's kind of like, man, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm gonna let my play speak for it. But internally, so going to your answer, no, fighting is not good. Here's the reason why. If it's a Draymond Green, Jordan Poole fight, it's never good. You don't want to punch your brother and knock him out. Like, you don't want to hurt your brother in a fight. You don't want to break your hand in a fight because that's an easy reason for me to cut your stupid butt. A little tussle here and there, a little grabbing, and everybody comes around and they pull them off, and then they get in the locker room and they're like, hey man, we cool, man, my bad, like blah blah, man, you was just doing this, you gotta stop doing it. Like, that's cool. But if it's a true swinging, helmets off, Aaron Donald type of deal, like we saw Aaron Donald rip helmets off, like, no, you don't want that. Unless the guy he's ripped his helmet off is getting cut, you don't want that. You do not want, like, I remember Ray Lewis, like when we were in a past situation, Ray Lewis jumped in the air like a rookie center, grabbed Ray Lewis and kind of caught him in the air and then threw him to the ground. One, you don't do that. Two, it's Ray Lewis. You don't do that. Because either way, it's a penalty because you can't grab a guy in the air and throw him to the ground. So one, it's a flag. Two, you just grab Ray Lewis and you threw him to the ground, so you could have hurt him. Ray Lewis jumps up and dog walked this dude by his face mask and slid him on the ground. Nobody really stopped Ray. Everybody was trying to stop this center. Like, yo, you need to chill out, man. And then what happened? Dude gets cut like a week later. You don't touch the franchise. So that's what I say when it comes to fights, man. One, you got to know who you're trying to fight. And like, if it's two superstars, Stephon Diggs, Xavier Rhodes, you probably can both get away with it. But if you're like Mr. First day guy, rookie, blah, blah, and you're going to like get in Justin Jefferson's way and fight, oh, no. We won't even buy you.
Be on notice.
We're not going to even buy you a plane ticket, bro. You are going to the Greyhound station, and you can drive home. You can rent a car from Budget and drive, or call your girlfriend to come pick you up and take you home. Because don't even go check back into the Omni. We've packed your stuff up and it's at the front desk, ready for you to go. So you got to know who you are too when you get in these fights.
Sure. Well, I wasn't saying that like a helmets off, knock someone else out fight could ever be a good thing.
But yeah, a little grabbing, holding, fisticuffs, get the like, yeah, all right, man, let's go. We here. Like, that's cool. Yeah, like okay. Those are okay. Those are cool. Those are gonna happen because again, these are grown men just running into each other full speed.
Stay away from
they don't get to take each other to the ground. There's no tackling. Yeah, but none of the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole stuff. Like, if you there, put some boxing gloves on. Go call Caleb Truax or somebody. Go get in the ring with with Michael B. Jordan and try to be a part of Creed 4. Like, don't do it on the field.
Ron, it was announced on Tuesday that the Arena Football League is bringing a franchise to Minnesota starting next year. Mm-hmm. You brought it up a few moments ago. You had an arena background. 2007 Orlando Predators, number 2 receiver on that team, 12 TDs, 733 yards. I'm looking at your stats. Very nice. What can people expect to appreciate about the Arena Football League here locally?
It's fast paced. It's different. You're closer to the fans. It's an intimate setting. It's gonna, it's probably gonna be like an XL Energy Center or something, I'm guessing. It's an intimate, small setting. So it's different. It's unique. It's fast paced. There's only 3 linemen. There's I think 2 receivers and a running back. So it's really fast paced. But other than that, or 3 receivers, maybe, I don't know. I don't even remember. But other than that, it's different. Don't expect to go watch it and think like, oh, this is nothing like the NFL. It's nothing like the NFL. They run the ball maybe 3-4 times a game. Other than that, it's just pass. So for the Minnesota franchise, their goal is to go find a quarterback because that's what it's about. Maybe our guy. What's the guy, Sam, that everybody loved?
Sloter?
Kyle Sloter. Like, Kyle Sloter would be perfect for the Arena League because you need a gunslinger who can run. Because that's the other thing, too, about the Arena League. Quarterbacks need to run. They don't run a lot. But if you have a running quarterback, you can really hurt people because once the receivers take off and there's only 3 D linemen and the quarterback just has to beat the linebacker. There's one jack linebacker, they call him, that sits in the middle of the field, and he handles the run game, but also handles any passes across the middle. So yeah, so I could see Kyle Sloter being a solid arena football quarterback.
And your coach was Jay Gruden, right?
Correct.
At Orlando?
Jay Gruden was
Wow,
an
that's
absolute
cool.
crazy person, but he was funny. Jay once like suited up to play quarterback as coach because he was sick of his quarterback. Like that's what kind of person Jay
I
Gruden
respect
was
that.
at times. Jay Gruden was hilarious.
I love it.
Talk about demoralizing your quarterback. Jay
Right.
Gruden knew how to do it.
That's unreal.
He was like Burt Reynolds in Longest Yard. I didn't get dressed up for nothing. I'm going in. Like, sit your old ass down.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, man. Roundtable tomorrow with Ron Johnson, Reggie Wilson, Luke Inman, and myself. And, of course, the Ron Johnson Show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Follow Ron for great takes at 3 Ron Johnson and listen to him on The Fan on Saturday. Thanks a lot, Ron.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff from Ron Johnson. We need to pay homage to a Viking that has moved on, that has been cut. A Viking that was near and dear to a lot of our hearts. Mount Rushmore, maybe. Luke, we may have to add him to Mount Rushmore. His legacy will live on forever. Cornerback John Reed, cut by the Vikings yesterday. I'll always remember.
Monumental.
I'll always remember looking at John Reed wearing the number 28 on the field and thinking, wow, you are not Adrian Peterson.
You know, in a couple of years, we'll talk about it. This is the post-John Reed era. 2022 and earlier was the pre-John Reed era. We'll separate Vikings epochs by when he was rostered here over the course of a summer.
Wasn't he one of 3 Jay Reeds on the Seahawks at one point? They had like Jaron Reed.
Jaron Reed, the D lineman.
Jaron Reed, yeah.
Yep.
And then he was there, and there was another one.
Does DJ Reed count as one of the Jay Reeds?
No, I think it was like Jarek or something.
Oh, gee. I don't know. I don't follow the Seahawks, so I'll just trust you on this one.
There you go. Fair enough.
Will John Reed be a footnote in history that says John Reed was cut so the Vikings could sign ... Who might
Unique
that be?
Ngakoue. Bring him back, baby.
Bring him back, baby. My guy, Justin Coleman. Arif knows. Come on. My guy. Scouted him out 2015 with Derek Cox.
I think it was 2015 because that was the same draft that like
Anthony
someone
Harris
called me to say that the Dolphins were trading for Adrian Peterson and that the Vikings would. You remember this, Luke? You were like right next to me when I received the call.
Yeah.
The Dolphins were trading for Adrian Peterson and the Vikings would attempt to acquire Melvin Gordon. And I'm pretty confident that was 2015.
That's right. Yeah. Why is it always the Dolphins and the Vikings running backs connected?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Anyway, that definitely happened, and I'm glad I reported it.
So the lesson is, anytime you hear anything, report it instantly.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah,
right.
With
otherwise,
no
it's just gonna be away.
care or cause.
No, I'm glad I like double checked and was like, all right, dude, thanks for thanks for the tip. No one is telling me this, so right. I'll ignore it. But yeah, I mean, it very much seems like this is in preparation for a move of some sort. Actually, it's interesting. So I see the email that John Reed was waived, right? I'm like, I wonder who that's for. And then the timeline blows up about Denzel Mims, and I'm like, no way. And I saw Luke Braun's tweet. Mm-hmm. Is Denzel Mims going to make the team? And I was like, this would be amazing. And luckily, I checked, right? Luckily, I was just typed Denzel Mims in it because there was no way I was going to type Denzel Mims in Twitter. And I said, no, he got traded to the Lions. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my response
still not sure he makes the team.
Didn't change. I saved my response in the drafts, and it was because Luke was, is he going to make the team? And I said, no, but it would help my agenda if he did. So I looked to see if Denzel Mims got traded to the Vikings. He didn't. I go back to my drafts. I'm like, I don't need to change this tweet at all.
Proofread, send tweet, done. Same thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. What did he get traded for?
I think that it is
the Mike Hughes conditional 6-7
very little.
swap.
Funny. Okay.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Unless it's something, it was like a 6-7 swap. Unless it's like for something truly exciting like Dalton Risner, I expect some sort of defensive line help, either at edge to kind of maybe put pressure on Danielle Hunter from a negotiating perspective, which could be Jadeveon Clowney, could be Yannick Ngakoue, but more likely is somebody a little bit cheaper. Although the Vikings do have like $18 million in cap space, or along the defensive line, where I just feel like they are weak, right? Like, it just feels like there's just not a lot going on there.
There's a lot of bodies on the D line. There's just nobody that really jumps out. And don't get me wrong, there can be some surprises during training camp and preseason, like Jonathan Bullard. I remember the day we picked him up. I was like, all right, training camp body. No way.
Jonathan Bullard played extremely well in camp, but he didn't play well in the season.
No, not
He
much.
was just kind of there. Yeah. He was hurt for a bunch of it too.
Could have been Armin Watts. Between Ngakoue, Clowney, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, would you have a preference?
Same again.
Justin Houston.
Clowney,
Ngakoue, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram.
Not Justin Houston. Melvin Ingram feels like it's always like the last minute with him. He always gets signed at the very last moment, and then he just balls out.
Is he doing the Brett Favre like I'll just mull my options until like August 20th?
Right.
Then I'll get like 8.
We don't need no stinking camp.
Right.
We talk about practice, man.
Hey, Trey Flowers came from the New England system. Bill Belichick. Is he not a thing anymore? Is he absolute toast?
No, I think he's got something.
29 years old.
Yeah, I wrote him down because I wrote
the system.
11 free agents the Vikings should sign. Now, I'm not advocating they sign all 11. In fact, I think that would be a bad idea. But one of the 11, I think would work. And Trey Flowers is one of 3 edges. The other 2 were, 4 edges, because I also wrote in Melvin Ingram. But yeah, Jadeveon Clowney, Yannick Ngakoue, Trey Flowers, Melvin Ingram, but not Justin Houston. I think he's cooked.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Justin Houston have 11 sacks last year?
I think he's cooked.
Could still be cooked with 11 sacks, but that's a pretty big number.
Yeah, it's a big
11
number.
sacks in 397 snaps.
Kind of the Yannick Ngakoue factor too, right? Like, all right, he tallies up some sacks, but first and second down, I don't really know if I want that guy out there.
I wonder.
Those Ravens games were very weird.
Fair enough.
I wonder on the D-line, especially with the interior, like because they have all those bodies, like it feels more to me like they just think someone's better than we think they are, which is fair. And I look at rooms with like, we kind of need another running back just to do like it could be a total random. I'm not saying bring in Zeke Elliott or anything like that, but I feel like it could just be like a random running back and we all go, okay, never mind. It's not going to be Marcus Peters.
No, bring in Kareem Hunt, actually.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh. Bring our guy back. Bring him home. Stephen Weatherly. He's just sitting out there. Bring him home.
I think he's like done. He's like
he retired.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Someone did an article.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Bring him home. Bring him back.
Bring him home
Bauer
to advise them on how to invest.
Deshaun Bauer, LSU. Next to Neil Hunt, LSU.
Jalen Holmes.
I'm still a little bummed they cut 7th round pick Kenny Willekes, to be honest. He hasn't got picked up.
Gessling did an article. This trip a couple days ago.
On
about the
Stephen Weatherly's
reckless driving
football ventures.
Yeah,
we were talking about Gessling. You got my antenna up there.
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay. Let's. We weren't going to talk about this, but so there's been a tweet. We don't know if it's real. There's a tweet about Jordan Addison charged with reckless driving. We don't know if it's legit. Might not be, but it does come from someone who writes for a Sports Illustrated vertical. So don't know if it's real. Hasn't been corroborated, but let's say it is. If it is this super problematic? Like 1 to 10, how problematic is this?
Probably doesn't lead to any missed time, right? It's probably what the Vikings care most about.
Charged with a ticket that I think it's doubled based off of the purported
140.
Yeah, but
Your Honor, it was in a Lambo.
Ticket.
They're meant to go fast legally.
But officer,
how could you
Ferrari in the garage?
Wouldn't you?
And if you can be associated with Corin Robinson, why wouldn't you want to be?
I hold myself in contempt.
We need to have like a driving seminar with the Minnesota Vikings, I think. Like a safe driving.
Oh, I thought you were like how to drive faster. right?
Yeah, no, that's get
Yeah.
a NASCAR
Adrian
person
Peterson's
in.
teaching the course. Yeah.
Just sit everybody down in the film room, pull up Fast and the Furious. You sit
Yeah.
down, you watch the whole trilogy.
Ron Johnson's there. He's like,
Buddy,
I
do
thought
have
this was
to
a
update
golf
you on the
swing
Fast and the
driving
Furious?
seminar. All right, we end the show with this.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
Special edition of Party Fouls today. I want your biggest faux pas, the dumbest storyline of the offseason for the Minnesota Vikings or the league at large, whatever you want. Let's go to Arif Hassan.
I'm going to steal one from Luke Braun's mentions. I often do this, actually. But
It's a good place to get bad storylines.
Yeah. The most deranged takes are in my mentions, but the worst storylines are Luke's.
Locked On Vikings YouTube comments are where you get the real good
that's
unhinged
gold
people.
stuff.
It's dark
That is
quick.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a dark place.
Yeah, but dark place. But I think it's that Justin Jefferson doesn't like Kirk Cousins, fueled by his top 5 list, which his mistake, of course, was being honest. In no world does any player, including Kirk Cousins and his family, in no world. I mean, if you've ever seen his family interact publicly, they're like nothing if not kind of downers about this sort of thing. In no world is he a top 5 quarterback to any of them. Maybe Julie, but even then, I don't know. So
if you ask Cooper Cousins, his top 5, his dad's
we should. That would be good.
And Cooper,
what if he's not? He's like Mahomes, Hurts.
Yeah,
I don't think Kirk would put himself in his top 5. A, because I think you'd be honest about it. But B,
wouldn't.
That feel kind of weird, right? I think Kirk Cousins is just not the kind of guy. Like Mahomes, of course, would put himself on his top 5, right? Any fringe top 5 player will put themselves in the top 5. But I think Kirk would just be like, oh yeah, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. You got to give it up for Josh Allen, good Christian man, Josh Allen. Just cheated on his girlfriend, good Christian man, Josh Allen.
Good Christian. Well, yeah, biblical.
Yeah.
Do people say that about Josh Allen?
They did. I don't know if that's going to be a storyline anymore. But,
it should be noted Jefferson put Kirk in his top 7 because he did get an honorable mention in that quote.
I did not realize that Kirk Cousins actually came up at some point. That's even funnier.
After he listed his 5 and then he was like, Justin Herbert and Kirko. And he just labeled those two.
That's so honest, man. That's
pretty generous, I think.
Yeah.
Top 7.
Yeah, that should itself put to rest any. But there was kind of this undercurrent. I think it's because people are traumatized by Stephon Diggs. But any interaction between Jefferson and Cousins that's not unfailingly positive turns into a storyline about how much Jefferson resents Cousins. Blank, I'm open, I think is kind of the biggest element of that. But, hey, they shouted at each other a couple of times. And then some people spread some rumor, and then he doesn't list Kirk in his top 5 quarterbacks. And so that's just, it's not. Justin Jefferson is just not Stephon Diggs. You just got to let go. You should be sad about the Vikings for any number of reasons. You should prepare yourself for disaster. We talked about this last time, Luke, about making sure that you don't enjoy things because there's a risk that you might enjoy things less if you start enjoying
happiness is
things.
a bad idea. That's
right. I think it's got to be for the right reasons, and I don't
keep
think
the bar low. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's almost impossible to beat. I don't know what you two guys got. I don't know. I'll go a little bit broader, just in general. The Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, that story was so played out by the end. Everybody knew where he was going. The McAfee bit, everybody got to tune in at 12 Central. We got to see what he's going to say. Wasted an hour of my life there. That one dragged out a little bit too long for me. I also will say, too, as far as just dragging on a little bit too much, I was in on the Lions being good this year before it was cool. Now it's like they've been crowned NFC champions. I think that's got a little bit blown out of proportion as well.
I was going to say the top 5 thing. I think that is by far the most annoying thing. It's also more recent, so it's easier to remember. But I'll go back a little bit to the week before the draft. There was a whole bunch of stuff up. People were asking me every day if the Vikings were going to trade for Trey Lance. I'm sorry. That remains the dumbest thing in the world. For one, people were saying like Danielle Hunter for Trey Lance, which the Vikings like literally would not be allowed to do because of the cap implications. Like the league would not have approved a trade like that.
Yeah, any Danielle Hunter trade stuff was just
especially pre-June 1st, where it would have like cost more money and it would have cost more cap space than they had like on draft weekend. It's like that's not happening.
You could always renegotiate that contract right before the trade
in the middle of the draft.
Yeah,
no problem. Come on. Have your people call my people. We'll figure it out.
Actually, I don't think they could have renegotiated it in a way that got the cap hit like feasible because there was too much proration. So I don't think they could have fixed it that way either.
Yeah, check your fax machine. Elvis Doomerville, right? Check your fax machine.
Yeah, check your fax machine.
Right?
But Trey Lance is stupid too because the 49ers either they're moving on from him and it's like Sam Darnold is going to start the season or Brock Purdy, in which case you don't want him. Or they're not going to give him up for like a 4th round pick if they actually think he can still play quarterback.
I
like,
love
there's no world where
Trey
Lance is good and you get him for cheap.
Beat Sam Darnold out in camp and he simultaneously is worth a 1st round pick.
Yeah, like this can't happen. And for 2 months, people were going crazy over this. I don't even know I don't remember where it came from. Was it Florio? It feels like something Florio.
Yeah,
would do.
It does feel like it. I can't confirm either way, but that does feel like a Florio.
I'll say this.
Brains on. I don't know what makes people's brains fall out when it comes to Trey Lance, but keep them in your head. Goodness.
So like the thing is, like Florio, because he's a news aggregator, a lot of people just think that everything he writes is based on some contact that someone has had with the league. But like a good chunk of his articles are X team should do Y thing. And then people take it and they're like, oh my God, X team is considering Y thing. And he's like, he never said that. Right. Just like
sometimes he says that. Sometimes he's like, it could happen. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like very clear he's not sourced it, right? Like he doesn't lie to you about that kind of thing, at least as far as I know. Right. And that I think was that kind of story where he was just like, yeah, the Vikings should trade for Trey Lance. They should trade Danielle Hunter away. And I think that would just be a good idea. Just my opinion. And everyone's like, wow, the Vikings are concerned. That's crazy that's true that you just said and you reported that. That's crazy.
We need a little bit of critical thinking. Just a little. I don't want to ask for a lot. I know that's a lot.
Okay, but here's the thing. If people started thinking just a little bit more critically, I would have to put more effort into my job to write something.
Not that much.
Yeah, not enough to...
I'm not asking for that much. Just enough to look at Mike Florio being like, I don't know, trade destinations. I'm bored. It's a Tuesday in May. And not be like, it's happening.
Those are all pretty dumb storylines, guys. Well done. I think the dumbest was you guys not liking Hendon Hooker for the Vikings. You ruined it. The Vikings could have had him. You talked him out of it with all your negativity.
That was it. That was us that we did that.
Luke Inman and I, we were rational headed, right, Luke? I mean, we stand on that hill with Hendon.
Nah, I don't like him anymore.
Oh, okay, it's over.
Because he's a Lion.
He's in the division now. Now we're obligated to hate him.
Kicked him to the curb. Yep. Fun show. Thank you, Ron Johnson, for joining. Minnesota Football Party back on Monday for another full week, and after that, it's training camp, baby, starting next Saturday. Roundtable tomorrow with Reggie Wilson and Ron Johnson as well here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can comment and subscribe on YouTube as well on the Locked On Sports Minnesota channel. For Luke, Arif, I'm Sam. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.